Objection! 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 Objection!
Welcome back, Remy, and anyone else. I decided to do some Ace Attorney for the rest of the night. For those wondering, the team lost. Alabama lost. It was a good game. It was a hard-fought game, but we took the L. But it was our first time getting that far, so I'll take it. So yeah, decided I'd come and drown my sorrows with some Ace Attorney, and y'all losers, especially Remy. What the fuck? You've been throwing L's at me all day, acting like you're catching a stray. Uncalled for. Okay. I think it was 2-3. Well, it was at least 2. I'm just balancing things out. Oh, what is that? Alright, Libby's in here with me now. Oh. Bum, bum, bum. Well, yeah, you may have done much worse, but, like, in my recent memory, this is what I'm giving you shit for. Plus, yeah, like, if I'm talking about my team losing and you're just like, L. It's like, well, yeah, I'm gonna give you shit. Alright. We are... Exactly, that was my imitation of you. We're playing Great Ace Attorney, picking up back where we left off of last time, and it's right before the trial starts. For, Japanese Edgar Allan Poe. You don't sound like that. If you say so. There are drinking game rules if anybody wants to play along. Now y'all get to hear my great voices. Okay, I'm sure you'll get some British accents. I don't think there are any Irish characters anymore, so I'm just gonna throw a British accent out every now and then. That's pretty much all I'm doing. Well, I never expected this. Who'd have thought we'd be back here again so soon? We are on a study tour of Great Britain, with the intention of learning the country's legal practices. In order to research the latest court procedures here, we need as much court experience as possible. Well, yes, I suppose that's true, but for the person in the dock, it may well be his or her one and only time in court. And it could be life-changing. In which case, treating it as research may seem a little crass. Oh, when you put it like that, you're quite right. Good morning. Oh, it's our defendant. Ah, Mr. Natsume. Good morning. Oh dear, are you all right? Your eyes are terribly bloodshot. The early bird catches the worm, as they say here in Britain. Yes, I've heard that expression. But I really don't want to catch a worm. So I tried desperately not to wake up early, but I was so worried I couldn't catch a wink. And I'm absolutely exhausted as a result. Do all literary people take things so literally? Thank you for putting your faith in us today, Mr. Natsume. I wish I had 9 lives. My whole future hangs in the balance. I'm... Right? He looks like he needs some medication or someone to talk to. Too terrified, too tremble. Really? Because I can feel tremors on the floor. I can't do this. I can't take it. Although, locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. Yes? I caught a glimpse of the public gallery as I walked by the courtroom. It looked like the opening night of the opera. There were so many people. Right? That's what I'm saying. I had no idea my case was such a notorious affair here in London. Oh, neither did I. Do you know why that might be, Miss Susato? Probably because of fucking Herlock Sholmes. I'm sorry, Mr. Naruhodo, but I have no idea. So that all-knowing look on your face is just coincidence, then, is it? Don't hide the truth from me. It's because of the Reaper, isn't it? Lord Von Sykes? Is that right, Mr. Susato? Miss Susato? I purchased as many different newspapers as I could find this morning, and yes. Yeah, I think it's spelled V-A-N, like van, but I'm pretty sure it's pronounced Vaughn. Lord Von Sykes is on the front page of every one. I knew it! Sometime after the prosecutor was dubbed the Reaper of the Bailey, he stopped appearing in court, it seems. It's been several years now, in fact, until the day before yesterday, and then now again. I'm sure you do. Yes, Inspector Gregson told us something similar, didn't he? The trial 2 days ago marked Lord Von Sykes' return to the courtroom after a very long hiatus. Yeah, for Tumblr, yeah, for research only, yeah, for sure. The trial of Magnus McGilded. Ugh, what a harrowing experience that was. I don't know if they've said his first name yet. I believe that appearance made even greater waves here in the capital than today's. I think it's always just Lord Von Sykes. But we would never realize, of course, having only just arrived in the country. Why is the Reaper back in the Bailey so soon, for what appears to be a mundane murder? That's the question the papers are asking, and they are all speculating various answers. Mundane. Mundane? It's the most significant saga of the century to some of us. Oh dear. I meant no offense, Mr. Natsume, but that is how the papers are describing it. Well, lest we also forget the fact that it could spark an international incident. Obviously, the reappearance of this infamous prosecutor has caught people's attention. But there's another blatant similarity with the trial of 2 days ago. Yes, I agree. Locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. It's you. Me? Well, I suppose that's true. Both times it is you who stands against this legendary prosecutor. It can only be that you're friends with the Reaper. Please, I don't rub shoulders with Deathbringers. I'm afraid that there's really only one other explanation. It can only be another example, Mr. Naruhodo, of your uncommon bad luck. Thanks for that. Oh, this is just my luck. Why must I be represented by a man with such frail fortune? By the least lucky lawyer alive. Well, let's not forget. Is that so, Remy? I hope I do. That it was you, Mr. Natsume, who asked me to represent you. Yes, it's true that I'm just a student, new to London, with little in the way of experience or skills, or luck. But I promise you this. I will fight your corner until the bitter end, and I will believe in you, Mr. Natsume. Yes, it is. Oh, benevolent locum student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. You're not alone here with us, Mr. Natsume. Whatever happens, we will always be on your side. Oh, benevolent non-locum assistant, Miss Mikotoba Esquires. I don't think any of those were words. I am in your debt forever. I shall never forget this great kindness for as long as I live. Mr. Natsume, counsel for the defense. Oh, the court session is about to begin. Kindly make your way into the courtroom at once. Alright then, Mr. Natsume. It's time. Let's go. Yes! This is it. Second appearance in a British courtroom. Just came across a Von Sykes in a Hurlock shitpost. No! In my second trial against the Reaper. That sounds awful. You should feel sick. Hope you're watching over me, Kazuma. Hope you're watching over me, gay lover. Because this time, I won't let my faith waver. I'll believe in my client to the last. Just like you believed in me, gay lover. I believe I can do this now. I'm ready for this fight. February 20th, 10 a.m., the Old Bailey courtroom. Exactly. We only refer to him as gay lover. Wait, the maid is on the... Why is she on the jury? In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. I now call upon the counsel for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed. Prosecution is fully prepared, my lord. The defense is ready, my lord. The Nipponese are a truly fascinating breed. Okay, racist. Sorry, what? Breed exactly. Another leg slam. Lord Strongheart has told me all about you. That you were a student who arrived in London but 2 days ago. A mere amateur. Do you have a point? He's racist. What is fuck. Being a compatriot, you feel compelled to try to help the accused, I suppose. Typical Nipponese arrogance. Forgive me, but I do not believe arrogance is an appropriate description. Susato-san. After all, at our previous encounter, the defendant was found to be innocent. Oh, he's about to throw the wine at us, isn't he? Very true. And a most fascinating, if dark, trial it was, too. The tragic conclusion came later, of course. Why you said that? Exclamation point vanish. Here's to the acquitted and his unfortunate violent end. Murmur, murmur, murmur. Whisper, whisper, whisper. Gavel, that's a drink. See, both sides are in fine fettle. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, just reminding you all of the drinking game rules. Are you ready to carry out your duties here in court as impartial members of the public? You never know when you might be down on your luck, but I believe in fair play for everyone.
Well, I must warn you, I'm rather more ruthless than I appear.
Oh well, not me. What you see is what you get. I'm a peace-loving fellow. This bitch, I'm afraid to say, I think it's quite possible that Mustache Foreigner did the deed. What is she doing on the bench? On the jury? Come on, what are we waiting for? No doubt he did it anyway. She's the... Sorry? Didn't quite catch that. Juror number 4 is like the wife of the victim. Or wait, not the wife of the victim. She's like a witness, or she's a wife of one of the witnesses. Like, why is she on the jury? Gavel, that's another drink. Very well, let us proceed. Your opening statement, if you please, Lord Von Sykes. Maybe. We'll see. Very recently, Great Britain signed an alliance with a rising power in the Far East. The accused in the dock today is a student from that same land, a certain Mr. Soseki Natsume. And while our country has extended this foreign student the warmest of welcomes, regrettably the kindness has not been returned. In fact, this student is accused of a most sinister act of plunging a knife into the back of an innocent woman who was doing nothing but walking down the street. A knife crime. I tell you from bitter experience, those are the worst. Bloody oath they are. Just look at that sallow complexion and short stature. He's one of those dreadful Japanese. Oh. That's the cane chewer? They look similar, but I don't think they're similar enough. I don't think that's the same cane chewer. I could be wrong. No, not juror number 5. Yeah, juror number 1. I know. I'll stop on him. I'll stop on him later. Maybe it's the same model, like you said. The maid character looks a lot more like the maid we saw earlier than Cane Chewer looks like Cane Chewer. We'll see. I'll stop it later. I'll actually take a closer look. Yeah, sorry. I didn't quite catch that. Pray, forgive the discourtesy of smashing my hallowed chalice here in this great chamber. Allow me to call the first witness to the stand. Very well. I apologize. Do it again. Bailiff, lead the inspector in, please. Your name and occupation, please. Yes, sir. Tobias Gregson, Detective Inspector at Scotland Yard. Would you please summarize the events of the case for the court, Inspector? Victim is thought to be a young woman in her 20s by the name of Olive Green. I beg your pardon, Inspector. Thought to be? Yes. Having been stabbed in the back by her attacker's knife, the victim fell unconscious. It's 3 days ago now, and she's been comatose ever since. What? So they don't even know who she is for sure? Comatose. I see. But her life is not in danger? Fortunately for the Eastern student, the charge will not be murder. Or at least not for now. Pray, elaborate on the details, Inspector. Sir, if I could ask everyone to look at this street map. As I mentioned, the incident took place 3 days ago, at around 5 in the afternoon. It happened on the pavement, running alongside Briar Road, a wide thoroughfare for horse-drawn vehicles. It had not long since stopped snowing as the victim, Miss Green, was walking down the street. Out of the blue, she was approached from behind by the accused and stabbed in the back. Luckily, the young lady's life was spared, and she's currently being treated in one of the city's hospitals. But being unconscious as she is, we've been unable to take a statement from her, of course. This is the case file with everything we know about the victim so far. Thank you, Inspector. The court will accept the documents as evidence, if you please. The case file has been entered into the courtroom. What of the weapon that was used? Sir, I have that here. It was removed from the victim's back. Like a pocket knife. Ouch. That big thing is starting to make me scared to walk down the street now. Oh, that big thing is making this guy scared. With a heavy blade like that, almost anybody would have been able to stab the poor woman. With a heavy blade, it just looks like a standard pocket knife. Even the scragged-looking Soseki-san, I suppose. Common or garden jackknife, I would say. Rather nondescript. Thank you, Inspector. The court accepts the blade as evidence. Now then, what do we know of the motive? Money or valuables, I presume? First thing I'm gonna do is take a look at this new stuff we just got. Incident report. Young woman rendered unconscious following a stab wound to the back. Olive green, female, stout build, early 20s. Pavement of Briar Road, east side. Rolly beat. The victim remains unconscious. Her name was gleaned from her personal effects. Other details are unknown. Apart from the single stab wound from the large knife, no other signs of injury were observed. The assailant was seen running away by the reporting officer and was successfully arrested the following day. Okay. Oh, now let's take a look at the jackknife. Oh, look here, Mr. Naruhodo. Just at the tip. A small piece of the blade appears to be missing. You're right. Well spotted, Mr. Sato. I wonder what could have happened to it. Yes, you don't think it could still be lodged in the victim, do you? Oh dear! I do hope not. That sounds terribly painful. It just pulls it back in. Okay. From what we can tell by looking at the woman's possessions, it seems like she's a poor student herself. Hard to imagine she would have had anything much worth pinching, my lord. I see. Well, in that case, are we looking at some deep-seated resentment toward the victim? afraid I couldn't say. Apart from visiting secondhand bookshops, the defendant, Mr. Natsume, doesn't appear to get out much. At this moment in time, we haven't been able to establish any sort of connection between him and the victim.
Yes!
If theft and grievance have been ruled out as the motive, what reason could Mr. Natsume possibly have had for stabbing the young woman? He raises his hand to say, yet you arrested the man in spite of that, in a totally unjustified and heavy-handed way.
Objection!
Objection, that's another drink. Oh, he just tossed the bottle behind him. Pray forgive the discourtesy of flinging a freshly uncorked bottle into the public gallery. But your words have soured its hallowed bouquet. Oh no. Wish that bottle was me. God damn it, Harry. For it is you, my learned friend, who is being heavy-handed here. What? Scotland Yard does not arrest people without good cause. That should be beyond question. Inspector Gregson, the prosecution calls for your formal testimony. Explain to the court precisely why the constabulary came to arrest the Nipponese student. Yes, sir. Mr. Natsume's arrest. As I said, it was 5 o'clock in the afternoon when the incident occurred, and there was an unusually light fog. Visibility was reasonably good, and there was no one else about but the victim and the accused. And then was there a reporting officer there? Out of the blue, the victim was stabbed from behind and subsequently collapsed on the pavement. The accused ran off, scattering his belongings all over the floor. Those being a number of old books he just bought. He was on his way home from a bookshop, it seems. It was just a matter of working out who the books belonged to, and we found the bloke to arrest him. Yeah, we need to press him on, like, the books that was bought. He says, like, tracing the books back. I bet that's the way. I bet we need to press him on, like, hey, what books do you say? Old books, you say? Yes, my lord. I have a photograph here of the scene of the crime, taken immediately after the incident. Ah, yes, I can clearly see the books to which you are referring. I will take that photographic print as evidence, please, Inspector. Oh, crime scene photograph has been added. You Nipponese are a spineless breed, too cowardly to admit defeat. Denying everything despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary. Forgive me, Lord Von Sykes, but the defendant is not denying everything, as you put it. What are you doing, Miss Usada? Do go on. Mr. Natsume has admitted to playing some part in the incident. Isn't that right, Mr. Naruhodo? Well, now you mention it. When we visited him in the prison yesterday, he did tell us what had all happened. Flashback, that's another drink. As I was walking along that accursed pavement, I could make out the sole silhouette of another ahead of me. A woman, wearing a green overcoat she was. And just as I went to overtake her, She suddenly let out a little scream and collapsed onto the cold, hard slabs of stone at my feet. I was terrified. I had to get away from there. So I ran, as fast as my legs would carry me, back to my accursed lodgings. Green overcoat. Oh, there he is. Oh, no, I think it's the same. That's someone that I would definitely believe, like, oh yeah, that's the same model, but not the same person. That's exactly what the woman in that print is wearing. That's his gay lover. No, that's a totally different person. That's not the same person as, like, Lady First. Libby, go away. Go lie down. Oh my, a photographic print in full color. What will the world come up with next? Gonna look it up? Alright, do it, but don't give me any spoilers. The defendant has done nothing more than admit he fled the scene of a terrifying incident. That does not mean that he's guilty of the heinous crime of stabbing the woman in the back. There was nobody else there at the time, just the two of them, the victim and the accused. In other words, there is nobody else who could possibly have stabbed the woman. A fact that the accused concedes. Ugh. Gavel. That's a drink. It seems this cross-examination could prove to be pivotal, counsel. Proceed, please. Yes, my lord. Nothing for it. Have to use this cross-examination to turn the tables here. It's our only chance. Okay, juror 3 isn't the same guy, but the first... Oh, so that literally is Bruce Fairplay. Like, that's so weird that like, he's literally... And they just don't identify him as such. That he's just like, oh... No, like, that's the same guy, but... Cameo. Interesting. Although, I'm sure that's probably something I'm not supposed to know until a certain point. So, let's keep the spoilers to a minimum, Remy. As I said, it was 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Yeah, I want him to tell me what the books were.
Hold it!
The defendant apparently... whoop. Apparently it's a bookshop on a daily basis. Yes, so I understand. Well, yeah, but let's just let the mystery unfold, Remy. A shop full of old English literature. I commend the accused on the lofty subject matter of his scholarly attention. Oh, yeah, you better not. The bloke's room was stacked floor to ceiling with those musty old books. Can you tell us more about the bookshop in question, please, Inspector? No, tell us about the books that you found, that you linked back to him. Well, if I must, I'll have to ask you to look at the street map again, I'm afraid. Closest secondhand bookshop to the accused lodging is this place here. Bourbon Books. I was about to say, Bourbon Books does not sound right. As far as the bookshop you visited, it was Your Books. Little place in the corner of Briar Road and Mearsham Street. Mearsham? As it happens, the accused is currently living in his lodgings on the other side of Briar Road at the opposite end. which means it doesn't take a genius to work out the route he would have taken home. Something like this. The local map's information has been updated in the court record. Yes, I concur with your conclusion, Inspector. The defendant would certainly have passed the scene of the crime on his way home from that particular shop. Right. Mr. Naruhodo. I think that what the inspector just told us could turn out to be of vital importance. Yes, add it to his testimony. Yes, I agree. The most important point that the inspector just made being the bookshop's name. Inspector Gregson, may I ask you a favor? What? Would you kindly add the name of the bookshop to your formal testimony, please? I believe it may be of vital importance. Maybe? Oh, well, you know, I mean, yes. It could be a very important clue. Gavel. That's a drink. Very well. Not that I can see it being of any great significance, but please revise your testimony accordingly, Inspector. Yes, sir, my lord. Whatever you say. Could the man be any more sardonic? Oh, of course it is. I'm sure if it's not even in the game, it's certainly a... he's on his way from Bourbon Books.
Objection!
Objection! And that's a drink. If I could just stop you there, Inspector Gregson. Oh, right, it's not on autoplay. What is it, Sunshine? I'm a busy man, you know. This is a receipt that we found in Mr. Natsume's room. It was issued on the day of the incident and details the purchase of 3 second-hand books. You found that in the accused rooms, did you? Yes, but the point is not where the receipt was found, but the name of the shop printed on it. Go on. Table Slam. That's also a drink. This receipt was issued from a bookshop called Your Books. Your Books? Y-O-R-E, I presume. Yes, my lord. So Mr. Natsume did indeed purchase a number of books at a second-hand bookshop that day. However, the bookshop in question was not Bourbon Books. Eh? What? Inspector, do you know of this other bookshop? Yes, sir. Your Books is another second-hand bookshop not far from Bourbon Books. It's just that... Well, it's such a small place, I didn't think the accused would have known about it.
Objection!
Objection, that's a drink. But in fact, that is the bookshop which the defendant visited on the day in question. And this receipt proves it.
Objection!
Objection, that's another drink. Yes, 4 what difference it makes. Wherever the man purchased his musty tomes, it makes no difference in the final analysis. Objection, that's another drink. I disagree. I mean, after all, I have a street map here, if that might be of help. Oh, yes, thank you. Have a look at this, please. Yeah, show us where Your Books is. If the defendant had been returning from Bourbon Books, then yes, he would almost certainly have passed the place where Miss Green was attacked. However, if we take into account the fact that he was actually at another bookshop, Your Books, it may very well turn out that he wouldn't have passed that location at all. Could that be true? Yeah, he does look a lot like Bruce Fairplay now that I'm really looking at him. For some reason, I thought... I guess maybe it was just because, like, his, like, tie or something was different, even though I don't think it actually is. I think my brain was like, oh, his tie is different or something. He can't be the same person. He's wearing a different tie.
My, it rather depends on where this other bookshop is, but I do declare it may be a possibility.
My Baron was gaslighting me, exactly. Is that right, Mr. Lawyer, sir? What you just said. And I can also see how that could kind of be Lady first, to be honest. Juror too, so good. Yeah, she reminds me of Popeye's wife, Olive Oil. Absolutely. It absolutely could be right. Gavel. That's a drink. Inspector Gregson, where is this Your Books establishment? Well, obviously we looked into that. It turns out that Your Books is all the way somewhere else. Oh, yes. It's just here on the next corner of Mearscombe Street, going east. So he's still... probably would have passed the murder scene coming home. And there you have it. As you can clearly see now... Oh, right. I was going to say, he still probably would have passed that spot coming home. My learned Nipponese friend is obviously in training to be a clown, the way he regales us with such witticisms. To your future career in the circus. Put that glass down now, or I'll put it down for you. Oh, Sasato's about to kick his ass. I didn't think I needed to spell it out, but here we go. If the accused was coming home from Your Books instead of Bourbon Books... Right, he still would have passed it, but there would have been a time differential. There's no doubt he still would have passed the place where the victim was stabbed. Not necessarily, but okay. Yes. Thank you, Inspector. Ugh. Allow me to reiterate for my learned, if somewhat slow, Nipponese friend. Wherever the man purchased his musty tomes, it makes no difference in the final analysis. As I suspected, you can't fool me. And wait, she's got the ring. She's got the sunflower ring. Oh my god, if juror number 1 is Bruce Fairplay, that is absolutely Joan, what's-her-face? I can't remember the guy's name. What was his name? Oh, no. Yeah, that is absolutely Joan Garridab. Like, she had the same fucking ring. Like, okay, if juror number 1 is Bruce Fairplay, then that is absolutely Joan Garridab. There's no fucking way it isn't. I'm gonna be upset if that is not Joan Garridab. What did I say, eh? I've had enough of this now. Beg your pardon. Terribly sorry, but would you mind repeating that? Mr. Naruhodo, we mustn't give up. What? What do you mean? If the prosecution's assertion is correct, the members of the jury may very well decide that Mr. Natsume is guilty. Ah, she's absolutely right. We must think. We must consider the assertion just put forward by the prosecution very, very carefully. They claim Soseki-san must have passed the location of the incident on his way from your books. But... I mean, he could have passed somewhere else, but is there anything we have that can back up the assertion? Table slam. Oh, it's a confident table slam. That must have been the right choice. The assertion just made by the prosecution is fundamentally flawed. Explain yourself, counsel. It was a confident table slam. We must be right. Yes, my lord. You can see what I mean on this map. When returning from your books to his lodgings, Mr. Natsume could have followed the route suggested by the prosecution, but he not necessarily. However, right, they have to prove he followed it. That isn't the only conceivable route to take between the two places. That's literally all they wanted me to raise. If the defendant used these streets, look what happens. Table slam, another drink. He arrives back at his lodgings without passing the location where the victim was attacked.
Objection!
Objection. Talking back to a clown is a fool's errand, of course. However, I feel compelled to point out that I was about to say, like, I'm even thinking ahead at this point. I'm like, no, our defendant admits that he, like, came upon the victim behind her. And so it's unlikely he went that way. Like, our defendant has already testified to the fact that he came upon the victim from behind. That route is what is commonly referred to as the long way round. Right, I was gonna say, like... But, I love how they're, like, trying to say, like, he could have taken that way, but it's like, what if he just, like... What if he just did this? Like... What if he just didn't even cross here? I don't know. On a cold winter's night, why would any man choose to take a longer route home? Well, answer is extremely simple. He wouldn't. In other words... Table slam. The accused took the obvious route back to his lodgings, and is the obvious perpetrator of this crime. That's a drink for the table slam. Objection. Another drink for the objection. But... Aha! Yes, I've got it. Obviously, we must ask the man himself. Ask Mr. Natsume which route he took home. I've already informed the court of the accused's response to such questioning. Right, he's already testified to the fact. He claims he has... no recollection. Oh. That's right. As I said, the bloke seems to spend his time outside wandering aimlessly from A to B. That day was no exception. He says he doesn't remember where he was or which route he took home. Well, that's not good for our case. I don't believe this! I thank you, my learned friend, and suggest that we do not waste any more of the court's time by wandering aimlessly around this subject. Pray, what say you, insightful jurors? But even if that is the case, the defense still... Hold it! Oh, they're all about to say some shit. I agree with Lord Von Sykes. Wholeheartedly and in every way. What? I don't believe it. Does this mean... We members of the jury are completely convinced now. Gavel. That's another drink. Very well. In that case, I hereby call upon all members of the jury. To present your findings to the court. Yeah, because that's how court works. The jury just presents their findings. Guilty. Guilty.
Guilty.
Guilty. Guilty. Guilty.
Guilty. Damn. Well, case closed. We lost. Gavel. It would appear the jury's leaning is unanimous. It would appear so. Well, we're screwed. To the insightful members of the jury, I applaud your brave resolve. You serve Queen and country admirably. Good job, jury. Mr. Naruhodo. No, not yet. This isn't over yet. I still have one last chance to sway the opinion of the jury. I have to tip the balance of those scales the other way. I have to turn this around. Somehow. Those are the eyes of Quarry, not yet willing to give up and die. So I presume you intend to wield your rights again in this trial. Rights of the defense written into antiquated British law that should have been buried long ago. Table slam. Confident table slam. Call it antiquated if you will, and that's a drink for a table slam. But it's the defense's prerogative to carry out a summation examination if it so chooses. Gavel. Another drink. Very well, counsel. In accordance with the letter of the law, we shall proceed with a summation examination. Are the members of the jury ready, Mr. Foreman? Of course we're ready. I'm all too familiar with that Nipponese whippersnapper and his onkus refusal to throw in his alley. Very well, then. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will explain on what grounds you have determined the defendant to be guilty. The jurors' contentions. For pity's sake, that little Nipponese oddity already admitted it himself, didn't he? If he said that a woman in green collapsed before his eyes, why can it only have been the victim? The man wouldn't have gone around the houses on his way from the bookshop, not in winter. So the poor woman was attacked from behind, was she? How dreadful. I really don't care. Can't we just wrap this up now? I've got work to be doing. You don't care? Your books. Yes, nice shop that. But bourbon books? No, not worth a visit. Only minor exceptions, the reasons for finding the defendant guilty are all too clear. When the stabbing occurred, the only two people at the scene were the victim and the accused. And the accused himself has admitted to seeing the victim in her green overcoat sink to the ground before his eyes. That is true. I remember hearing that. Furthermore, we have heard from the inspector that the defendant then fled the scene. I must say, I would have ample grounds to convict this man already. Oh dear, even the judge appears convinced of Mr. Natsume's guilt now. Ugh, why did he have to run away like that? And how are we supposed to believe in some phantom attacker that nobody could see? This is impossible. How can I possibly make a case for this defense? Mr. Naruhodo, this is no time for grumbling. She's right, though. If we want to force the trial to continue... Yes, I know. I have to turn the tide. I must make the jurors change their minds. Well, 4 of them, at least. Exactly. We have no choice but to forge forward. Gavel. That's a drink. You have the floor, counsel. Begin your summation examination. Yes, my lord. Face slap. I just need to keep the trial going somehow. Whatever it takes. Come on, Ryunosuke. You can do it. Alright, the defense's rebuttal. Yeah, let's press the guy who's just like, hey, I don't care. I just want to go back to work. A man's life is on the line here, sir. This will take as long as it takes. Don't get clever with me now, son. My life's on the line, too, and so is my family's. Wait, what? Tell us more. Ah. The likes of you wouldn't understand, but a laborer like me can't afford to take time off. That's why you get paid to be on a jury. If I don't work, I don't eat. And neither do the wife and kids. Oh, I see. That must be very hard. I go to the union every morning to find out what he's doing. If you're late and the work's taken, it's tough. This time of year, there's water and gas supply pipes bursting left, right, and center. They're after cheap labor to get the roads dug up to fix it. It's a hard slog from dawn till dusk it is. So, you were out digging up the roads on the day of the incident as well, were you? That's right. In fact, if I remember rightly, it was just around the corner from where it all happened. By that old bookshop it was. What? Another coincidence. That's right. Mearscombe Street it was. Okay, tell us where you were. On the map, Mr. Naruhodo, there are only 3 named streets. Table slam. That's also a drink. Juror number 5, I need you to add information to your formal statement, please. What's the point in that? Can't we just get this business over with now? Please, sir. It's important. Fine. I'll do it then. I'm digging up Mearscombe Street. Oh god, okay, I missed. Okay, hold on. Sorry. Folded, you say? Fold what? No. What I said was, hold it. What I wanted to ask was, do you visit your books often? Saving Hydro Park. I like the old books they have in there, yes. I enjoy reading them over a nice cup of old tea. That's my daily routine, you see. Same thing every day, including the day you're all talking about. And at what time did you visit your books on the day in question? Well, I was picking up books in there all afternoon, and it would have been just before 5 that I left. That's my daily routine, you see. Same thing every day, including the day you're all talking about. Just before 5, you say. Exactly when the victim was attacked. Are you sure about the time? Oh, yes. No mistake there. I remember it well. I'm not about to forget that day in a hurry, excuse me. Not after the dreadful time I had. What do you mean? Well, I was walking down Calabash Road when I slipped on the ice and donged my head. It's always worse after the snow stopped falling. That's when it's most slippery. Knocked myself clean out, I did. I really thought my number was up. Wait a minute. Let me get this straight. This happened on Calabash Road? That's right. I live in Cornpipe, you see. Heading down Calabash Road is the quickest way for me to get back from your books. Table slam. Juror number 6. I must insist that you add that information to your formal statement. It may very well be extremely significant. Sorry? Extremely sick? No, I'm quite alright now. Sends a shiver down my spine to hear the members of the jury so convinced of Mr. Natsume's guilt. But I can't help feeling that some of their opinions are rather subjective. We should probably press Bruce fair play. There's no way that's not important. I agree, it's the irrelevance of what some of them are saying that sends a shiver down my spine. Still, at least some of their assertions don't actually incriminate Mr. Natsume of anything. That's something. We must use that to our advantage, Mr. Naruhodo. Cunning. Yes, you're right. Let's listen to the jurors again. Carefully. And if any of their assertions are at odds, pit them mercilessly against each other. Yes, don't hold back. Pit them all against each other. Alright, we are gonna BRB. While I use the restroom and such. Okay, we're back. About to press the shit out of Bruce Fairplay. More like Bruce not Fairplay. Alright.
Hold it!
Excuse me, but aren't you... Yes, that's right. I was in the witness stand myself just 2 days ago. Yes, I had a feeling I knew your face. Or the side of it, anyway. If I remember correctly, you're a banker, aren't you? That's right. After the gold rush down under, I came back to London to work. It was all going swimmingly until you started fussicking around. Bruce Fairplay was a man of repute. Bruce Fairplay. Sorry? Don't think I've forgotten how you treated me. You had me and that young hatter pegged as criminals. Ooh, pegged? Oh, well, you know, water under the bridge. Now there's all sorts of rumors buzzing around, and the police have been badgering me non-stop. If I could turn back the clock... Well, anyway, I don't know about the hatter, but at least I'm in the clear now. And free to make up my own mind about who's guilty and who isn't. Oh. Thank goodness. Alright. Maybe I might struggle to change this man's mind, given our awkward history. Oh dear, I wonder what's become of Mr. First now. Lady First. Let's press this bitch too. You're right that at the time of the incident... Nah, I've not been paying attention. Did you defend it? Admits to having seen someone wearing a green overcoat walking ahead of him. Well, quite. That's precisely my point. Clearly that someone wearing green was the victim. And clearly that funny little Nipponese man with the disturbing mustache is the culprit. But let us not forget, madam, the defendant vehemently denies attacking the woman. Why, of course he does. If he admits to stabbing her, his life is over. The man is obviously a liver-faced coward. Honestly, claiming the woman simply collapsed before his eyes. But if that's a lie as you're suggesting, do you not think he would have concocted something more credible? Oh, I really couldn't say. After all, you are foreign. Who's to say what goes through your funny little minds? Wow. I can tell you what's going through my funny little mind right now. You wouldn't like it. I do declare the man has already made the admission. He himself has stated that there was nobody else around. Surely the conclusion is obvious. No one else could possibly have committed this awful crime. Ugh. If no one else could have done it, the accused must be the man. Really, it couldn't be more simple. The argument is compelling in its simplicity, I must admit. Oh my, you're too kind, my lord. That went well for her. Wouldn't have gone around the houses. Yeah, so that, and the other guy talked about the route. Express him. But you can't deny that there are other routes Mr. Natsume could have taken from your books. Oh, autoplay's not on. Oh yes, Like you drew on the map, you mean? What was it? Calabash Road or something? Precisely. Well, he's gonna say it wasn't on Calabash Road, and the other guy's gonna say it was, so. But it seems to me that what counts is whether the little Japanese fellow actually went that way or not. Well, yes, that's true. At the moment, there's no proof that shows he did, is there? It's the other guy's testimony. Well, yes, that's true as well. The other juror's testimony. It's a nightly call. Yeah. Have fun. Take care, Remy. Sleep well. Good night. And as I understand it, the accused himself doesn't remember which way he went, does he? Well, yes. That's annoyingly true. Winter nights are dark and cold, so the way I see it, you'd want to get home as quickly as possible. Well, yes. Why is all this true? So really, the only thing that makes sense is that he went home along Briar Road. Ah, I'm supposed to be convincing you here. I've given it a lot of thought, you know. I didn't just make up my mind on a whim that he did it. I mean, if there was some logical reason why he might have gone the Calabash Road way, it'd be different. I'd be happy to reconsider my position in that case. Honest, I would. Reason why Soseki-san might have taken the longer way home. It's a good reason. I don't imagine you'll be able to sway the young man's opinion without one. Right, he was digging up.
Objection.
And the music stopped. These two statements are clearly at odds with one another. At odds, counsel. Explain yourself. Please, don't point. It wasn't me. I swear. Yeah, what? I just want to get this done and dusted. Well, juror number 3? Oh, me, sir? What do you mean? Juror number 5's words just now are extremely significant. Let's take a moment to consider the implications of what's been said on our map of the local area. On the day in question, Mr. Natsume visited this bookshop to purchase a number of second-hand books. And on the same day, we now know that there were works being carried out on Mearscombe Street, making it impassable. Which means that the defendant's route home could not have taken him along Mearscombe Street and down Briar Road. Thanks, Remy. Take care. Have a good call with your mom. Oh, yes, of course. What do you think, sir? Well, yes, you can't argue with that, really, can you? You must have had a good 2 yards or more of the pavement up. Every gentleman and gentlewoman that came along had to turn back and go the other way. Bum, bum, bum. Table slam. That's a drink. So the only conclusion is this. The defendant must have taken the longer route back to his lodgings. Yes, I suppose he must have. I suppose that must be right, eh? So we convinced these two. Maybe. Juror number 3. You said the following. The man wouldn't have gone around the houses on his way back from the bookshop. But we see now that he had no choice. Yes! My lord, Mr. Judge, sir, if I may. Yes? I don't think in all good conscience that I can say the man's guilty now. Yes, I'd like to see this trial continue so we can get to the bottom of what really happened. Yeah. Change that opinion. What about you, sir? Eh? Who? Me? Well, alright then. If there's a hole in the prosecution's argument, it should be filled in. That's what I say. There's 2. We just need 2 more. Oh, well done, Mr. Naruhodo. That was wonderful. Well, we've managed to change a couple of minds at least. It has strengthened our position somewhat. Yes, and it will prompt the other members of the jury to reconsider their stance as well. They'll be asking themselves if their current leanings are really right or not. Now, if we could just identify one more clue or discrepancy that would make them stop doubting Mr. Natsume, we might be able to tip the balance completely. Yes, that's exactly what we've got to do. Von Sykes is looking to bring this trial to an early conclusion. That's what we have to prevent, by whatever means we have at our disposal. Gavel. That's a drink. Thank you, Counsel. On with the summation examination, please. Yes, ma'am. Did we get anyone else to change their testimony yet? I don't think so. Let's talk to this bitch. We don't like her. Is he just like, really? Why are you here? Whatever is the matter, young man? You're the wife of Mr. Garadab, aren't you? The landlord who rents Mr. Natsume his room? The master's wife? Where do you get your ideas, sir? I'm the maid. The maid, you understand. She's keeping up that charade. This is going to be awkward. Why didn't you mention this yesterday? That you'd been selected for the jury in this trial, I mean. Well, I was told not to mention it to anyone until the day of the trial, you see. It was in the letter I received. The instructions were very clear, so I'm afraid I had no choice. I see. Anyway, Mr. Natsume, the defendant, takes lodging in your master's house, doesn't he? Yes, that's right. Although he's only been in a little over a week now. And in that time, surely you must have taken stock of his character. Table slab. Does Mr. Natsume look like the kind of man who would commit a crime such as this? Oh my goodness me, yes! He's just the sort. What? Spending all his time in that dark and dingy room, sporting that unscrupulous mustache. The man never speaks, and don't get me started on those shifty eyes. All the neighbors are talking about him. I've heard them, you know. People think he must be building a bomb in there or something. Oh. Oh dear, poor Mr. Natsume. How could people say such things about him? He's just a harmless bookworm, nothing more. Well, you just called him a worm, so... Anyway, I better be careful about inviting this maid to speak. She said enough damning things already. Right, so we don't want her. We already pressed him, I think. I slipped over that evening myself on Calabash Road. I already pressed him, he didn't say anything. Is it maybe pitting her with the person who talked about Calabash Road? Because, like, if he said that a woman in green collapsed before his eyes, why, it can only have been the victim. But then we have old dudes saying, I slipped over that evening myself on Calabash Road. I knocked myself clean out. Meaning that, like, right, I'm talking about him. If he said that a woman in green collapsed before his eyes, why, it can only have been the victim. I slipped over that evening myself. Yeah, so, like, it's basically saying, like, it's not necessarily, like, yeah, he saw... If he said that a woman in green collapsed before his eyes, yeah, she could have just fell over.
Objection.
Music stopped. These two statements clearly show a flaw in the juror's reasoning. Flaw? What are you talking about, counsel? Well, juror number 2, juror number 6. My, whatever do you mean, sir? Think perhaps the old man didn't hear you. Unbelievable. It's not like I was loud or anything. There is at least one fact of which we can be sure here. The bookshop receipt found in the defendant's room clearly indicates that on the day of the attack, he had been to your books and purchased a number of secondhand titles. He then returned home on foot. But the man says he has no recollection of his return journey. That's correct. But what he does remember is seeing someone appear in front of him on the way. Someone in a green overcoat, who suddenly collapsed on the pavement before his eyes. Yes, we are well aware of all this. The poor young woman who was stabbed, obviously. Objection, that's another drink. Can we really be sure of that, madam? My, whatever do you mean? I'm sure you heard juror number 6's account of what happened to him that day. That same afternoon, there was somebody else apart from the victim who was wearing a green overcoat and who fell over on the icy streets in the neighborhood. Oh, he had the green overcoat. Oh my, that's what we were pointing out. It could have only been the victim. Well, it's like, no, it could have very well been this dude on Calabash Road, because we established that, like, he would have been walking there. My goodness, you mean... That's right. I'm referring, of course, to the hard of hearing juror number 6. Are you really suggesting that the person in the green overcoat whom the defendant saw collapse in front of his eyes was the jolly old gentleman on the end of the bench here with me today? That is entirely possible, yes. After all, the old man has a somewhat similar build to the victim. Well, look at that. Well, look at that.
My goodness me.
Sorry? You need a pee? Table slam, that's a drink. And crucially, we know precisely where the old man in the green overcoat fell. On Calabash Road. Therefore, if the person who Mr. Natsume saw collapsing in front of him was in fact juror number 6, it means the defendant must have taken the long route back to his lodgings. And if that's true, then clearly, another confident table slam, another drink, the crime scene on Briar Road where the woman was stabbed was not on his way home. Oh boy. You idiot old man! If you hadn't been so daft as to be roaming about there, we'd have boxed this off hours ago. And really, what were you thinking, wearing such a befuddling coat? Table slam. What did you say to me? That's drink. Is it a crime for the elderly to walk the streets these days? Is it a crime to slip over on the ice? Is it a crime to keep up with the latest styles and wear a beautiful green overcoat? Is it? Hold it. My lord, I do hope it won't cause any inconvenience. But... you'd like to change your leaning, I presume? I do declare that I would. I should like to call for a verdict of not guilty. Thank you. And I would too. There's our 4. What? Is it a crime to change your mind? Is it? Well? Gavel. Well, that summation examination is concluded with a rather large shift in opinion. The eyes 2, the nose 4. So the nose have it. Not guilty, they say. Which means we no longer have a consensus among the members of the jury. The trial will continue.
Objection!
Oh, objection. That's in the drink. Oh, he crushed it. Could it seem churlish of me to drink from my hollow chalice moments more only to crush it in disgust? Pray, forgive the discourtesy. Lord von Sykes? It seems I must retract my earlier remark. What do you mean? I mistakenly credited these jurors with intelligence by describing them as insightful. Yet we have just witnessed them falling for a cheap trick performed by an Eastern entertainer. Eh? Whatever do you mean? Objection! That's a drink, and table slam, that's another drink. I haven't tricked anyone. Everything I've said is the truth. Indeed. Stalwart juror number 5 was undoubtedly repairing the road, as he claims. I believe you said it was a good 2 yards of the pavement which you had excavated, sir? That's right. It took me the whole day, and they paid me a measly 2pence for it. Now, my learned Nipponese friend, tell me, do you have any notion of the distance that 2 yards represents? It's about 6 feet. Well, if I'm honest, I don't have a clue, no. 2 yards is a little less than 2 meters. Less than 2 meters? That's not much at all. In other words, a distance readily vaulted by anyone of moderate vigor. But he was carrying books and shit. Would you not agree, my stalwart friend? Yeah? Me? Well, I can't say you're wrong, no. What? Did you perchance erect a sign to prevent pedestrians from passing the site of your works? Eh? I wouldn't dream of it. What a waste of time. No coaches would have had a hope of passing anyway, and we just turn any gentlefolk back when they come. Kids just jump right over us all the time. The accused is no gentleman, as far as I can see. I have little doubt, however, that he could spring over a 2-yard trench in his meanderings around town. Ah! Is that true? Is it? The incontrovertible truth is that the books just purchased by the accused were found at the scene. There can be no doubt that on his way back to his lodgings, Mr. Natsume walked down Briar Road. Ugh. Crushed in a single sentence. And, old man. Cold man? You can talk. Hola. What's up, Game Boy? How's it going? You say that at around 5 o'clock on the day in question, you slipped and fell on Calabash Road. Pray, was there a suspicious-looking Nipponese behind you at the time? Oh, can't say as I remember. You don't remember? How about a wager, my learned friend? You say it was this old man that the accused saw. But I would lay 1,000 to 1 against you being able to prove it. Arrgh. Gavel, not to drink. Order, order! Lord von Sykes, explain yourself. My lord, if you had such a trenchant argument up your sleeve, why in the world did you not proffer it during the summation examination? I wanted to give this young foreign student the sightseeing experience he no doubt came for. I wanted him to see for himself how the opinion of the jury is so readily swayed. But my hospitality has its limits, and they have been reached, I feel. Oh, his cape's coming off. How many other pieces of clothing is he going to take off? So, my learned friend, today's sightseeing tour of London is now over. What are you talking about? Table slam. My lord. That's a drink. The prosecution requests permission to call its next witnesses to the stand. Granted. Bailiff, bring forth the witnesses. It's... next witnesses? Mr. Naruhodo, do you not remember? We've been told on several occasions that there were eyewitnesses to the incident. Yes, I remember. One of them being a Scotland Yard policeman, no less. I'm afraid that's likely to be the prosecution's next witness. Alright. No matter who Von Sykes brings to the stand as his witnesses, and no matter what they say, I believe in Soseki-san. I know he's innocent. And I'll keep believing to the very end. Until this battle is over. Bleh. Excuse me. Oh, these are our witnesses. Witnesses, please state your names and occupations for the court. Oh, I don't like where this is going. Constable Rolly Beat, sah. Nothing to report on the street, sah. And I'm Mrs. Beat. Patricia's my name. I'm proud to say I'm this young town hero's wife. I don't like this. What's the story here? Well, in truth, we've not been married long. In fact, we celebrated our first anniversary only the other day. No. It was your husband I was asking about. He seems tired. Hardly surprising. Whilst being an honorable occupation, patrolling the beat is the most demanding work in the world. Oh, really? I'm sure I've heard that before, actually. Indeed, apart from rare days off, our gallant officers trudge some 20 miles a day, you know. They patrol boarding houses and pubs, collect taxes, survey the streets, check that meters are reading true, and they're responsible for keeping the streets clean, and lighting and extinguishing our streetlights. There are a number of items on that list that don't sound much like policing duties at all. I wouldn't just be falling asleep on my feet. I'd have collapsed long ago. ACAB. But it goes without saying that a policeman's primary duty is the apprehension of criminals. Even when he's off duty, a constable is expected to investigate and resolve any crimes on his beat. For the London, Bobby is a man of honor. And a man of slumber. On the day in question, this man and his wife were walking down Briar Road in the opposite direction, and they witnessed the incident as it occurred. Is that not correct, Mr. and Mrs. Beat? That's right, sir. Isn't it, Rolly? Constable Rolly Beat, sir. Nothing to report on the street, sir. What a great witness he's going to be. Gavel! Let's have the drink. Very good. I'd like to hear your formal testimonies now, please. You will tell the court exactly what you saw in the incident. Yes, sir. What the witnesses saw. It was our wedding anniversary, and Rolly was taking me out for a meal. There was no time to change after work. Anyway, two silhouettes appeared out of the fog on the pavement in front of us. All of a sudden, one of them just collapsed on the floor. Then the other scattered something before running off. We ran straight over, of course, and then went for help at a nearby police box. It was definitely that Japanese man in the dock. Roland and I both saw him clear as day. I want to press about the police box they said they went to. Well, this is extremely compelling testimony, I must say. Oh dear, this policeman and his wife are claiming to have positively identified Mr. Natsume at the scene. If their testimony is true, the alternative course of events that you established in the summation examination will be quashed. It's death now, in fact, because that alternative was never viable in the first place. What an unfortunate bechancing. And on your wedding anniversary, too. Oh, I know, but I still managed to go out for the evening with my man. I thank the Lord for that. Gosh, the life of a London Bobby sounds very hard indeed. Indeed. However, this cross-examination will be over in minutes. You may well have time to rest this afternoon. What do you mean by that? My learned friend, the witnesses saw the face of the man fleeing the scene. They are testifying under oath that it was without doubt the accused, Mr. Soseki Natsume. And one of these witnesses is a policeman, no less. So you appreciate the gravity of the situation, I'm sure. Except that the man's so tired, his wife has to do all the talking. Gavel! That's a drink. Enough preamble. Counsel for the defense. Commence the cross-examination, please. Yes, my lord. I don't care about that. Two silhouettes appeared out of the fog in front of us. Let's press this too. This game is so peekaboo. Yeah, this is my first time playing it. I mean, I've played a ton of the Ace Attorney games before, but like this is my first time playing this game, so I'm enjoying it. Scattered something. What do you mean by that? Oh, well, I couldn't make out what it was at the time. But when we got closer, we realized what it was. Didn't we, darling? What? Yes, that's right. It was some old books. Let's see, old books. Yes, sir, the culprit had dropped a number of them, all around where the victim lay on the pavement. Indeed, as clearly pictured in this photographic print. That rotten Japanese man did that when he did the deed. Hold it, that's a drink. Table slam, that's also a drink. Let's not forget that it remains to be established that the defendant was indeed the attacker. But we saw him. It was the man in the dock, without question, sir. The mustache, the hunched back, the cat-like eyes, the taut mouth, the snub nose. Everything. Any more insults you want to throw in? That's right. He looked down at that poor, defenseless woman with those terrifying, intense eyes. And then suddenly threw his books onto the pavement and ran away. I see. This is tough. It seems as though they're telling the truth here. May I remind the court that this unambiguous testimony comes from a policeman and his wife. Now please, continue. Yes, sir. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna press on this. Was it your husband who went to fetch help? No, I went. I may not be a police officer myself, but I am the proud wife of one after all. Isn't that right, my darling? What? Ah, yes, that's right. I asked Mrs. Beat to go. I was off duty by that point. But a Bobby's never truly off duty, of course, so I felt obliged to stay and guard the scene. Very laudable, Mr. Beat. Preserving the scene of a crime is a task of considerable importance. That's why I sent Patricia, you see. I told her where to find the right police box. Forgive my ignorance, but what do you mean exactly by the right police box? Depends on a crime's location, you see, as to who deals with it. Where the woman was stabbed wasn't actually on my beat, so I told Patricia the way to the police box for the beat the incident fell under, so she could go and report it. I ran there as quickly as I could and asked for help from the Bobby on duty. There's nothing more potent than a young couple in love working together, you know. And thanks to your swift response, the case was quickly resolved. The actions of 2 model citizens. Oh, please, you're making us blush, isn't he, darling? Yes, sir. What Patricia said, sir. Let's move on, shall we? Okay, well, that didn't give a shit. Both saw him clear as day. But surely you wouldn't have been able to see his face by the light of the gas street lamps, would you? We absolutely could. Us Londoners have exceptional eyesight, I'll have you know. Right. The light from the street lamps was more than enough. Guess that doesn't count. And my husband already told you that the fog was only light, didn't he? Yes, and what of the fog? We're famous for it across the globe, I believe, but it's an absolute menace to those of us who have to live with it, of course. Oh, it is, it is. When it's thick, you can't even see the hand at the end of your own arm. Yes, alright, I take your point. Now, could you stop shaking your husband about? Constant fog makes our eyes very sharp, you see. That's why we can tell you for sure and certain that it was that little Japanese man we saw. Can't we, darling? What? Ah, yes. It was the accused and no mistake. The mustache, the hunchback, the cat-like eyes, the top mouth, the snub nose. Unassailable, yeah. So that's it, is it? That's their entire testimony. What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo? Well, I hate to admit it, but on hearing the testimony, it really does seem as though Mr. and Mrs. Beat saw what they say they saw. Mr. Natsume running away from the scene on Briar Road that day. Yes, I feel the same. So if that's true, where does it leave us? The members of the jury are sure to call for a guilty verdict with this testimony. Oh no! And what do we do? If Kazuma-sama were here, if our gay lover were here, what are you trying to say? I think he would try to find a contradiction somewhere else within their testimony. What do you mean, somewhere else? Their statement about seeing Mr. Natsume is unequivocal. Calling that into question won't help. But if you could identify some other part of their testimony which appears to contradict the facts, you might be able to discredit them, to make the jury doubt if the pair's memory of the day is accurate. Alright, put simply, we must focus on finding a discrepancy in these statements somewhere. If we don't, I'm afraid the trial may reach an early and unfavorable conclusion. Ugh! Why do I always seem to be so up against it? So not the fact that they saw him. Oh, that's not. I didn't mean to. Here's our wedding anniversary. Fuck it, let's just press on this.
Hold it!
No time to change after work, you say. Are you also a member of the police, Mrs. B? Oh no, sadly not. It's a job for strapping young men only. Women, children, and the elderly can't even apply. Well, I think you can probably see why children and the elderly can't do the job, can't you? I think Rolly looks ever so handsome in his uniform. It suits you down to the ground. It suits you down the ground, doesn't it, darling? What? I just finished my beat. Pat and I were heading back to the station. I was actually planning on getting changed there. Is he talking in his sleep? This is creepy. Oh no, Rolly. I much prefer you in uniform. Sometimes I don't recognize you when I see you in plain clothes. Oh dear, it doesn't seem healthy. Kindly adhere to the point. You were going for a meal after you had finished your beat for the day, correct? That's right, Saw, yes. Although I was fit to drop, to be honest. After spending the whole day on my feet. But policing is my life, Saw. As long as I'm the proud owner of this, I'll serve my city and my queen to the end. What's that now? My warrant card, Saw. Proof that I'm a London copper. It has the noble founding principles of the force written on it as a reminder to all us policemen of our sworn duty to patrol the streets of London town and uphold the peace of the common man. Saw! And for such a noble cause, I cover 20 miles every single day without fail and without a grumble. Because I know that the plodding of my boots is all Londoners need to hear to feel safe and secure. So, fighting crime doesn't appear to come into it then. But sir, just on that one particular day, I was looking forward to celebrating my wedding anniversary. Mrs. Beat puts up with a lot being married to a bobby like me. I wanted to show my dear wife how much I care. Oh, Pat.
Oh, Rolly.
Oh, what a charming couple. Their young love is such a joy to behold. If a little over the top, perhaps? And then, finally describe what happened next. Mr. Lawyer, sir, can I ask you something? Oh, we just pressed the, like, a first statement. Now we're getting this. Oh, yes, of course. What is it? Well, you keep asking us all these questions about everything we've told you, so... It seems like you don't believe our testimony. Is that right? Is it? Well, out with it. What? No. Oh, no. It's really not that at all. My husband's a policeman, remember? And I know what I saw. I remember every last detail. Everything. Like... Oh, I know. What about the books the man dropped? I could tell you the names of every single one I could. Every single one. And you dare to question how reliable my testimony is. Gavel. Yes, tell us the books. That will do, Mrs. B. No, it won't do at all. That Japanese lawyer has no idea what I'm capable of. Even if I decide to forgive him for insulting us, don't think for a minute that Rolly will. I really didn't mean to cause offense. Please put your husband's fist down. Another drink. Perhaps you would like the opportunity to supplement your testimony, Mrs. B? Might that appease you? Oh, thank you, my lord. Wouldn't it, darling? Tell the name of the 4 books. Yeah, hold it. Yeah, tell me. Yes, we know that there were 4 books dropped at the sea. Oh, 4 books. I don't even have to go through this, but we'll. Those purchased by the accused at the nearby second-hand bookshop the day in question. After I've been in the police box for help, I decided to have a good look over the air for good measure. I'm a proud policeman's wife, after all. I did for Rolly. And what was your husband doing there? Let me stand. Was a rest. I worked so hard. It was so hard, don't you? Yeah, well. The titles of the books you observe. I'd be happy to. Now, are you all listening? There was the picture of Monster or somebody or other. And what's it yearnings? Then there was a meal for someone, and the last one was definitely the thingamies something. There were indeed books found at the scene with titles along those lines, as you put it. Oh my god, just let me. She said 4 books, and I fucked up. Oh, he just pulled out his gun. Oh my god. I'm getting so fucking tired of this. We did not click that many times. I clicked just enough times to get it to that last one, and then it's like, oh no, you clicked past it. The 4 books he dropped at the scene.
Objection.
We're going to present the crime scene photo, which shows that there's only 3 books at the scene. So, you're saying that there were 4 books. That's right, I remember all of them. Picture Monster Somebody, What's It Yearnings, A Meal for Someone, and the Thingamy Something. I'm sorry, Mrs. Beat. But there's a fundamental flaw in that statement of yours. Oh no. What flaw? Table slam. Simply that, at the scene of the crime, there were only 3 books, not 4. What? Have a good look at this photographic print of the scene of the crime. As you can clearly see, there were only 3 books. But, no, that can't be. I saw them. Oh, I know what it is. Yes, you can't fool me. Sorry. It's that big old lump of a dead body. Yeah, but I mean, she said she remembered that it's the Monsieur. Okay, what did you say? The Picture a monster, somebody, what's it, yearnings, a meal for someone, the thing give me something. Monster or something, what's it, yearnings, a meal for Garbono. I think she got that one. Close. A meal for someone. The thingamy something. That's what we need to picture, because the picture of monster, somebody, what's it, yearnings, and a meal for someone. Those are all close to 3 books that we do have on record. But that other one is something. It's that big old lump of a dead body. The lady's so large, her corpse is blocking the view of the 4th book, that's all. Let's at least try to remember that the poor woman isn't dead, even if we're insulting her size. Wait, no. I love how Ryunosuke is coming in and being like, oh, let's not insult the poor woman's size or whatever. He was literally making fat jokes, like, in the previous scene. So don't let Ryunosuke fool y'all and be like, oh, he's such a good guy. Oh, he's telling what's-her-face not to make fat jokes. Nah, this dude is making fat jokes just earlier, so... But Mr. Natsume could not possibly have dropped the 4 books you describe. Why not? Fascinating. That's a table slam. That's a drink. And from your assured tone, something you can readily substantiate with evidence, I presume. Ah, evidence. It's the receipt. It's the receipt we have. Gavel. That's on the drink. Counsel. You will present evidence to substantiate your claim or withdraw it. What proof do you have that the accused did not drop 4 books? It's the receipt. Take that. That's a drink. Table slam. Another drink. The evidence is right here, in the form of this bookshop receipt. From your books? Yes. This receipt details Mr. Natsume's purchases that day. But as you can see, only 3 books are listed. No. Therefore, Mr. Natsume would have only dropped 3 books at the scene of the crime. Which means that your powers of observation, madam, cannot be relied upon, but it still lines up with the actual evidence. So, excuse me. Grrr. Table slam. That's a drink. So it cannot be denied that though you say it was the defendant you saw, you could very well be mistaken. Oh no. Oh no, oh no, oh no. No!
Objection!
Objection, that's a drink. Boom, boom, boom. It's plainly evident that it is your powers of deduction that cannot be relied upon, my learned Nipponese friend. What? What cannot be denied is that these 2 witnesses saw the accused running from the scene. A fact that you know very well you have no hope of disproving. Ah! So you've striven to avert attention from that by dint of some inconsequential discrepancies. Would that be fair? He sees right through me. But your plan has somewhat recoiled against you. What are you talking about? It's quite simple. Let me explain with a toast to the policeman's wife and her entirely accurate testimony in every respect. Oh, you see, the matter is not up for debate. At the scene on Briar Road, a total of 4 books were most definitely found. Objection! That's a drink. But what about the photographic print? It only shows 3 books. Quite right. Only 3 can be seen. In that print. That print? You mean to say... Allow me to present another one that shows the victim's hand. The lion's pride. That. The thingamies. What did she say? The thingamies. What's a majig? I forget. I don't believe it. It's the fourth book. As you will observe, the fourth book was hidden from view in the original print by the victim's torso. No. No. Order. Order. There. You see? You see? Look at that. Look. 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 Yes. It's just like I said. Isn't it, my darling? Yes, sir. Patricia's always right, sir. Let us study the receipt for the books purchased by the accused on the day in question. Mrs. B. The titles once again, if you please. Oh yes, of course. The picture of Monsieur somebody or other. The picture of Monsieur Lecoq. What's it yearnings? Canterbury yearnings. A meal for someone. A meal for Gabriel, in fact. As the court has just heard, the witness remembers the book titles flawlessly, save for a few minor details. Mrs. Beat's powers of recollection can only be described as exceptional. Did you hear that, Rolly? The gentleman paid me a compliment. Yes, sir. Flawless, sir. Patricia's flawless. But there are only 3 books on the receipt, and Mrs. Beat mentioned 4. There's nothing surprising about that. Clearly, the fourth book is that which is shown in this photographic print. I'm sorry, counsel, but does that not seem odd? Why should the fourth book be omitted from the receipt? It's not odd at all, my lord. It's the book she purchased. As the photograph clearly shows, the fourth book was found in the victim's clutches. In other words, it belongs to the victim. The victim is holding her own book? I wonder, what became of that fourth book? Obviously, it wasn't overlooked by the investigating officers at Scotland Yard. I have it here as evidence. Gavel, that's a drink. You will submit that and the aforementioned photographic print to evidence counsel. My pleasure, my lord. Second crime scene photographs have been added to the court record. The fourth book has been entered into the court record. Prosecution rests. Well, that's great, because we're going to go ahead and take a look at this. Okay, nothing here. Let me see, it's a book entitled The Lion's Pride. I'm afraid I don't know any English literature at all, so it wouldn't be something I've heard. Wait a minute. The Lion's Pride? That's strange. I think I have heard of a book by that name before. Very recently, too. It's a title I recognize, too, Mr. Naruhodo. Oh, look at this. The book has been badly burnt. You're right. You'd never be able to read it in this state. Especially not the latter pages. What a terrible waste. Judging from the scored edges of the paper, I think the damage must have occurred very recently. A book. Recently damaged by fire. Why does that seem to raise a red flag with me? And the Lion's Pride. That, it was book. It was scorched. That was, from What's-Her-Face's. The maid and that other guy's, home where they had the fire. Yeah, now it's all coming together. They're involved. I have nothing further to add. What? You seem surprised, my learned friend. But your resistance until now has been in vain. Entertaining, yes, but futile. The spurious, longer route to the accused lodgings that you tried to establish in your summation examination, and the attempted discrediting of the witness's powers of recollection in your cross-examination. Futile? I worked right on this, didn't I? You see? Everything we've said is true. Isn't that right, my darling? Yes, Pat. Marry me, Pat. So, perhaps the ladies and gentlemen of the jury would like to reconsider their positions. Should the court waste any more time on this Nipponese travesty? Or is the decision you have to make all too apparent already? You have heard all of the witnesses and seen all of the evidence. Table slam. That's a drink. This trial has run its course. Mr. Naruhodo, I'm afraid we are in a terribly precarious position. I know, but if I fight back in the wrong way now, I could very well just make matters worse. Think, Ryosuke, think. What do you do now? I think this is another time where we just wait and see, because, like, it wants us to raise an objective, so it's like, oh, yeah, and especially because it was the last thing we did. I think right now, it might be a good time to wait and see. But at the same time, like, it's not going our way, right? We are in a terribly precarious position. You have heard all the witnesses and seen all the evidence. This trial has run its course. We might actually just have to fucking raise an objection.
Objection.
Confident table slam. I think we did the right thing. I'm not done yet. No, my learned friend. It's over. That last cross-examination was your final chance to establish a credible defense, and you failed. The die has been cast. There is no more room for debate. Well, it might be over as far as you're concerned, but... I can't think of what to say. If I may, Lord Von Sykes, it seems somewhat boorish to close down the debate at this point. Your insignificant little Eastern Isle must be a lawless hole indeed, for a lowly judicial assistant to have the audacity to intervene at a moment like this. Oh! I am, to my shame, still a very inexperienced lawyer. So you will have to forgive me, but I consider my assistant's advice essential and her opinions invaluable.
Mr. Naruhodo.
One of this land's great guiding principles is tolerance. So, the court will hear you, madam. Go ahead, Miss Susato. Please. Very well. Pray, what insight can you give us? What have we all overlooked in this matter that you see fit to pursue further? Well, the court has been presented with new evidence, but only after the last cross-examination finished. I see. And you believe that this new evidence warrants further examination, do you? Mr. Naruhodo, what do you think? It's just possible that this new evidence might be the decisive proof we've been waiting for. The judge is sure to ask the members of the jury to announce their leanings in a moment. And of course, he's sure to ask you to explain what the crucial piece of evidence is and why. So we must take this opportunity to examine the newly presented evidence as thoroughly as possible. And I did, and I got the burnt piece. Yes, I understand, and thank you, Miss Susato. This is it. Susato-san has managed to win us one last chance here. I can't let it go to waste. Table slam. The defense wishes to present evidence, my lord. Trick for the table slam by the gavel. Very well. The defense may present one further piece of evidence. Evidence that apparently offers a profound insight into this case and has hitherto been overlooked. I think it's the fourth book.
Take that!
The evidence in question is what we can see from the newly presented photographic print of the crime scene. Oh, maybe I should have presented the print. Maybe this is one of those parts where it doesn't matter. You could present the print or the book. The fourth book,
Objection.
found in the victim's hand. Objection, that's a drink, and that's a table slam, that's a drink. We have already discussed the fourth book at length. Other than it being in the victim's grasp at the time of the incident, no significance has been attached to it. Pursuing the matter further would be a flagrant waste of the court's time, as you well know. Yes, I'm afraid, counsel, I must concur with the prosecution on this matter. When I afforded you this opportunity, you led the court to believe that the evidence in question contained a hitherto undiscovered clue. So I must insist that you elaborate, counsel. You will identify this clue at once. Do I make myself clear? Oh, yes, my lord. It's Mr. Naruhodo, I believe the prosecution is trying to avoid a thorough examination of the evidence, which means you may very well be on the right track. Yes, I think you might be right. Gavel, that's a drink. So, counsel. Precisely where is the vital clue to this case, which this fourth book conceals? Oh.
Got it!
Got it! I would ask the court to observe the back of the book in question. The back? What do you... Good gracious! It's been burnt to a crisp! So we have to ask ourselves, why was the victim clutching what is clearly an unreadable book? It is undeniably an extremely unnatural thing for her to have been doing.
Objection!
Objection, that's drink. Unnatural, you say? And what of it, my Nipponi's friend? Oh? Were I to concede the point, if it bears no relation to the case, there is nothing to discuss. So, should you wish to assert that this fire damage is some veiled clue as to what happened in that day? Pray, do enlighten us all. What truth does this charred book conceal? Charred book. There's just one possibility here, which I can't quite bring myself to rule out. It's an outside chance, certainly, but worth a try. Alright, I'll explain my theory. Don't keep us waiting any longer then, counsel. Explain this theory of yours. What are you suggesting that you can ascertain from the fire damage this sorry tome has suffered? Its owner. Because the fact that it was charred means we can ascertain it was owned by the Diderots, or whatever their names were. I can't remember. Because no. What are you suggesting you can ascertain from the fire damage? We can't tell anything about the shop that sold it from the fire damage. And not only that, we already know what shop... Excuse me. We already know what shop sold it. We also can't determine its content from the fire damage. It's the owner. My lord, the burn on the back of this book reveals a startling truth. About the book's owner. I beg your pardon, but we already know who the book belongs to. The victim was gripping it in her hand as she fell to the floor, after all. It's obviously hers. The question of how this book came to be in the victim's hand has yet to be answered. However, Table Slam, that's a drink. As to the questions of who the book really belongs to, and where it originated, the defense has very credible answers. Good gracious, how can you possibly... Very well, I'll play along with this futile attempt to delay your inevitable demise. But do remember, the members of the jury may well burn you if your little gamble goes awry. Gavel, that's drink. Counsel, the defense's response here is very likely to influence the final outcome of this trial. So tell the court, who do you claim is the owner of this burnt book? Well, it's either Joan or John. I hope it doesn't count against me which one I say.
Take that!
Music stopped. Confident table slam. Let's go, that's a drink. The answer is that the book belongs to the couple who own the house where the defendant has his lodging. So I probably could have picked either one of them. A certain Mr. and Mrs. Garadab, the landlords. And whether this is some extraordinary coincidence or some kind of fate at work, I don't know. But of all the people in London, one of the 6 chosen for jury duty in this courtroom today is none other than Mrs. Garadab herself. Oh my goodness, me! I think you must be mistaken, sir. I'm not Mr. Garadab's wife. I'm his maid. Things would be so much easier if you would just drop the pretense. Alright then, how about a simple question for you? Have you ever seen this book in Mr. Garadab's house? I would never presume to know all of the books he keeps, sir. Objection. Now that's a drink for the objection and the table slam. This is outlandish behavior. This woman is the accused's landlady, you say? You implicate this hardworking member of the public. You besmirch her without a shred of evidence. Your actions are unforgivable. Objection! Another drink. This is not mere conjecture. The defense happens to know that on the day in question, at almost exactly the same time as the victim was stabbed on the pavement below, another incident was taking place in the room on the top floor of Mr. and Mrs. Garredeb's house. Good Lord! What sort of incident, counsel? A fire, my lord. A flashback, that's a drink. Afraid to say it was. Happened in the blink of an eye, you know. The whole place filled with smoke. Couldn't see a bally thing. Didn't take long for the fire to spread, of course. The bally furniture started going up as well. Worst of it is, I lost my favorite. A book called The Lion's Pride. Bum, 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 bum. The Lion's Pride. By Jove, the very same title. That's the subject of this debate.
Oh, dear me.
Objection, that's a drink. Table slam, that's another drink. This is risible. All you've told the court is that a book by the same name was involved in a fire. In which case, it would be reasonable to assume that it was burnt to ashes. And entirely unreasonable to infer that it magically removed itself to the scene of the crime. Perhaps it would make more sense if I told you that the cause of the fire was marital discord. Without going into details, it appears that Mrs. Garredeb was considerably enraged. Apparently, she continued to attack Mr. Garredeb even amid the flames. Oh, how awful! I can't even imagine being so horrid to the one you love. Can you, Rolly? Absolutely not, Saw. My Patricia would never raise a finger against me, Saw. She would just choke you. Okay. Flashback, another drink. Had all my favorite old novels in that case, but as soon as the fire got hold of them, that was it. Whoosh! Up in smoke. Then the wives started hurling things at me. There was I, back up against the window, under heavy enemy fire. Incendiary books coming 10 to the dozen. Bum, 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 bum. The man had his back up against the window, and he had burning books thrown at him. Goodness gracious. Are you suggesting that the book was thrown through a window and landed coincidentally at the scene of the crime? Yeah, table slam and an objection. No. A thorough investigation of the surrounding area was conducted the very evening of the incident. And there's no report of the Garredeb's window pane being broken. It's quite true. We also saw no sign of broken glass when we visited the Garredeb household. But it is not conceivable that the window was open at the time, and not even remotely. Let us not forget the season and the chilling weather that accompanies it. No Londoner would ever leave a window open in the middle of winter. Ah! Does the defense postulate this scenario in all seriousness, counsel? Do you earnestly claim that the book found at the scene was a flaming projectile thrown by Mr. Garredeb's wife? I believe it's a possibility, my lord. That's quite enough. Well, I hope that everyone can see you for what you are now, you little foreign trickster. Oh. You call yourself a lawyer, but you're just a coward. A mean coward. Really? Claiming that our little tiff set the whole neighborhood alight. Honestly. Implying that I'm merely posing as a maid for appearance's sake. How could you? It's nothing to do with this beastly case. Not any of it. All you've done is sully our family's name. No, I assure you that was never my intention. Dragging an upstanding citizen's name through the mud simply to divert attention from your family defense. Oh, she hit that guy. I should box your ears. That's what I should do. It's utterly unforgivable. Too right. Here we go. How long have we sat here now, listening to this Nipponish spouting his fancy foreign theories? But, think about it. At the end of the day, the only person who could possibly have stabbed the victim is that little hunchback with the mustache. And he ran away from the scene, too. I do declare you're right. It's true. Yes, what did I tell you? Makes sense to me. Sorry, what's that now? Gavel. That's a drink. Well, it would appear that the ladies and gentlemen of the jury are once again in full agreement. What is your position, Lord Von Sykes? In truth, my lord, I feel these have been unnecessarily protracted proceedings. But then, one must always exercise patience in order to savor the best vintage. Table slam. That's a drink. No, wait! The mystery of the fourth book still hasn't been... Oh, Remy, I don't know if you're still here, but we get another leg slam. Lord Von Sykes just put his big Von heel on top of us. If books are your predilection, my learned friend, study them on your own time. What? No, forgive the discourtesy this time? Another gavel, another drink? In that case, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will now state your individual decisions regarding the defendant's culpability for the court.
Guilty!
Guilty!
Guilty. Guilty.
Guilty. Guilty. Guilty.
Well, that's not good. Gavel, thank you for that unambiguous response. That's twice now. It's over. Mr. Naruhodo, don't give up. Mr. Sato? Have you forgotten? The battle isn't over yet. You're not suggesting... Of course, the defense has the right to another summation examination at this point. You could still convince the jurors to change their minds. You have one more chance. Table slam. My lord, the defense asks to exercise its right to a summation examination. You believe you still have tricks up your sleeve? I don't intend to trick anybody. I intend to uncover the truth. This is no time to be downcast. As long as there's a chance, I have to stay strong and something or other. To be continued. We'll definitely save our current progress. Alright. Save it here. I'm, at the very least, gonna do a BRB.